And in the season finale, as Nicholas is making his way back to the house, Arlo and Meryl are discussing the current predicament they find themselves in. That they know where to go, they just can't get out. And even if they could find a way out, well, there's the whole assassin debacle. Harbinger decides to take over. He's got an idea on how to handle that. Using the marbles and the teacup, he tells Meryl that they don't need to be trapped. They just need to trap Assassin. They need to find out who he is and trap him somehow. As he's explaining this, though, Meryl looks out the window and she sees Nicholas, gesturing to come down and come outside and talk to him. Meryl does it, but telling Arlo, make sure to let nobody in except me. And then she heads outside to see what Nicholas wants. And Nicholas, who at this point is Assassin, is putting on a really good acting performance about how his mother was Assassin and he didn't know, all the while setting up Meryl to take over the job. And that's exactly what happens. He gets really close to Meryl. Assassin transfers from Nicholas's body into hers. And once that does happen, Assassin grabs a rock and knocks Nicholas out. But all of this was seen by Arlo. And at this point, Arlo knows who Assassin is. It's pretty evident. He knows that his sister wouldn't have done that. So Arlo runs into his parents' room, where they were having a little bit of an awkward conversation. James was explaining why he had the affair, trying to figure out if maybe they could reconcile things. Maggie giving him I'm not really sure at this time. But they decide to put the relationship on the back burner when their son runs in and says Meryl is doing bad things. And at least now they know who Assassin is. By the time Meryl walks back into the house, she's on a mission to find Harbinger. But before she does, she finds Maggie with a gun pointed at her. The two go back and forth, with Assassin demanding that Maggie step aside and let her have Arlo, and Maggie saying, no, you'll have to kill me to do that. But that's when Assassin gets a great idea. She doesn't have to kill Maggie. She just has to threaten Maggie with killing the host. That's when Assassin puts a knife to Meryl's throat, and it does get Maggie to stand down. Maggie, though, in all of this, has a partner in James, and James is able to sneak up on Assassin, grab her, because after all, she's in the body of a 13-year-old girl, and both Maggie and James drag Assassin to the bathroom where they start to drown Meryl. And it hurts. I mean, they're drowning their daughter. That's what it seems like, at least, but they know that this is their only option, and they do it. They keep Meryl underwater until she is lifeless, and then they drag her out and start doing CPR. It gets super, super dicey, and for a while it looks like they're not going to be able to resuscitate Meryl, but eventually she does come to. Now, while all of that was going on, over at the Navarro household, McNabb told Ruben and Don his idea. With that little tiny vial of the substance, he thinks it can use it to make more. He hands Ruben a pair of construction gloves, and he tells him, drink this, and then go towards the object. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt really bad, but I need you to snap off a piece of it. And while Ruben is a little skeptical of this guy, he does it anyway. He puts on the gloves, he heads towards the object, and it is really painful, but he is able to snap off a piece of it. And when he gets back to both Don and McNabb, he places the item in a jar, and all of a sudden it liquefies, becoming what they needed. Enough liquid for everybody to cross the line. They make their way back, where Ruben finds Nicholas just coming to at this point, and he's concerned. Ruben asks Nicholas what happened, but Nicholas is still a little woozy, so he just wants to get him inside. And that's when Don notices that Ellen and Arlo are trying to signal them that something is going on in the house and they need to stay put. Obviously, that's something being Assassin drowning, and while the hope was this would get rid of Assassin, it doesn't work. When Maggie and Meryl get downstairs, Assassin has inhibited James's body, but James is still fighting it. He's able to talk to Maggie, and he tells her, you gotta get out of here. She's able to escape with Meryl and a gun before Assassin fully takes over. But when he does, he starts looking all over the place for Arlo. The first person he really encounters, though, is Ruben, and he starts beating the crap out of him. Ruben's only saved when Maggie fires a shot in James's direction, and it kind of scares him off. But Maggie can't bring herself to actually shoot her husband, even though she knows that that's not really her husband at this point. While she doesn't want to, she reluctantly lets James continue to walk around the property, until eventually he does locate Arlo. It's in the barn, where Olsen's body is still laying there. You've got Assassin inhabiting a grown man's body, and Harbinger inhabiting a little boy's body. So this doesn't really seem like a fair fight. But Harbinger is able to distract Assassin long enough with just back and forth conversation that Maggie is able to sneak up the steps and inject James's body with ketamine, making him woozy and drowsy and drugging him. Maggie grabs Arlo because she wants to flee, but Arlo says no. Remember the wasp, how you trapped it? That's what we need to do to Assassin. And Maggie's able to do it. I mean, she tries to stop James on her own by stabbing him in the leg, but with Assassin inhabiting his body, it doesn't really affect him too much. So Maggie kind of sidesteps him and is able to get him in a giant cooler. From there, Ruben starts piling on sandbags to make sure that he doesn't get out of the cooler, and it looks like they successfully trapped Assassin. But to Meryl, that's not Assassin, that's her dad, and she breaks down. She wants to free him. And Maggie has to let her know we can't do that. We've got to drink the stuff. We've got to get across the line. We've got to get to safety. And right now, that is not your dad. Of course, Meryl isn't the only one who's going through a tough emotional state regarding a parent. When Meryl hit Nicholas with that rock, it kind of gave him a little bit of amnesia, and he completely forgot what he did to his mother. So when he sees his mother's body over the line, he bawls his eyes out. After a little bit, though, everybody collects themselves, and one by one, they start drinking the liquid and crossing the line. One person who is not crossing the line, though, is Ellen. She feels like she's only going to slow the group down, and somebody needs to stay with the animals. So she's going to hang back, and Maggie assures her that they'll be back at the house as quickly as possible. The group then files into a conversion van, and they're planning on heading to the firehouse. But as they're heading there, Harbinger says, no, we need to go to the mountain. I need to turn the machine on. Before the adults who are actually driving this caravan can address that, they stop because there's something in the road that is stopping them. It's two people. Maggie and the group slowly get out, guns drawn, and that's when this mystery woman says, which one of you guys is McNabb? McNabb raises his hand, and she introduces herself as Carol, and McNabb gets a giant smile on his face. He recognizes her name. She was somebody from the message boards who he used to talk to. And he excitedly tells the group she's a friend, it's okay, we can trust her. Carol gives a little bit of a sigh of relief and says, great, I got to grab something from my bag. And as she's trying to do that, a Dodge Charger comes storming down the road. And McNabb recognizes it right away as his old buddy Hayden's. What he can't figure out, though, is why Hayden isn't slowing down. Because Hayden hits Carol and hits the guy she was with, Milo. Hitting them with the Dodge Charger so bad that if they're not dead, they're not moving for a long time, that's for sure. Once again, guns get drawn because Maggie, Don, Ruben, they don't know what this guy's capable of. He just ran two people over. And that's when Hayden, along with a woman named Izzy, get out of the car. And Hayden shows them what was in Carol's bag. It was a gun, it was zip ties, it was ketamine. It was everything to kidnap them. Izzy lets the group know that those people were not their friends. They were there for one reason. They were assassins. And if they think that they have a shot in hell of getting where they need to go without encountering more assassins, they're sadly mistaken. So if they want any chance of survival, they need to go with them right away. And Maggie thinks about it. She puts her gun down and she says, we're not going anywhere until you tell us what the hell is going on. And that is the end of Season 1 of Teacup. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. I really appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you like this recap. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought I sucked. Consider becoming a member to the channel. It helps pay bills. And you get some perks, like videos early, and also helping out the needy. If you want to leave a comment, just don't be a dick, because, I got feelings over here. So if you have anything mean to say, just keep it moving. That's what the thumbs down button's for. I have merch, I have a t-shirt, I have hats and mugs, you can go buy one of those. 'Tis the season. But just know, I really, really appreciate you guys checking out this recap.